Let's do it.
All right, my man, we're back.
We are.
And we're a little bit early, see, you know?
A little bit early, but a day late.
Day late.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
We're a day late because Rocco has engagement. He's a busy man. That's what he does.
Speaking engagement last night. Good time.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
I got to bring Gabe with me. So
really?
Yeah, he came and watched it and took some photos, some video, had a good time. Actually got to see me. He actually got to see me speak for the first time. He's never really seen me do it, so it was cool.
That's a learning experience.
Yeah, it was fun. He helped me. He actually put the PowerPoint presentation together for me too, which was nice.
I think in October you and I both are speaking at Shipley's event coming up. We'll have some. Yeah. Have some. Oh boy, that'll be interesting.
That'll be good. That'll be fun. Definitely. I'm looking forward to that.
All the guest speakers for that day, I can assure you, I will have the oddball speech. I guarantee you that.
Well, we all have our own.
I'll be the least accomplished person there.
Don't sell yourself short, man. Come on.
We'll see. I'm just honored to be asked. Anyways, yeah, so much going on here. Let's just start out with the big Donald Trump. You have to.
I know, man.
You have to, man.
It's like, just give up. I mean, honestly.
Him or?
No, them. It's like, I feel like, I don't understand. Like, I'm a lawyer, right? I like to think I'm a logical, somewhat intelligent person. This bullshit that's been going on, it's like, come on. Like, what are you indicting him for now? January 6th. Well, what did he do? Like, I don't understand. They just keep like concocting things. Like, nothing's stuck.
Well, so I just read this afternoon that there could be a quote unquote serious charge there of insurrection, which I think hasn't been brought upon a U.S. citizen like a couple hundred years or something like that.
But
I mean, I guess that's a pretty quote unquote serious charge.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, like, charging someone with something and proving something are two different things. And I feel like the government has made a mockery of the system. Because look, I was never a criminal lawyer or a DA, but I to charge someone with something, you have to have a reasonable basis to do that.
You would think.
I feel like they've stretched the word reasonable to be, makes sense, let's do it. Like, there's no real thought that goes into it. It's like, we don't like him. We don't want him to run for president. We especially don't want him to win. So let's see what we can do to make his life more difficult. That's the sense I get. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying that he didn't do certain things. I'm just saying in the history of this country, it's never been like this.
It certainly looks punitive.
Yes.
It certainly looks political.
Right.
And I mean, you couldn't really write the script, right? He's running for the president of the United States, and he's the leading candidate for one party. And yet he's under federal indictment now and state indictment.
It's just going to help him.
Because he's in jail.
I don't think he's going to go there. But here's why it's going to help him. I truly believe. You're seeing people wake up and becoming very frustrated with the system in general, right? Political system, the government, just systems in general. Now you have the system, both sides of the system, attacking this man. He is kind of playing the I'm for everyone. And people are going to rally behind him, because who's going to run against him? All people from the system. He was the outsider that was president for 4 years. Then he got ousted, and now they're attacking the outsider. They're not seeing that play. Like, you're now attacking yes, he's a billionaire, but he also, I believe, stands for every man. And now you're attacking them. You're not just attacking him, you're attacking every man. So people just are more rallied behind him. Like, it's not doing what they intended to do.
So is the next step actually? Yeah. I said this in 2018, and I'll say it again. It appears to me, the layman's view, that the constant barrage of things against the man, it was almost like his political enemies were trying to cause him to have a heart attack or try to affect his health. I said that when he was a president. Yeah, they would. It's horrid to say, but I got the feeling they were trying to kill him in office through just bad health and stress. The irony is, I don't think he can be stressed.
He's a machine.
But I would think that the barrage of just so much legal entanglements, the idea is that he's just not going to be able to run, have a campaign. And what if he does win? And then he gets let's say a jury convicts him. How's
Again,
that play out?
this is my belief. I don't think he'll get convicted. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is a lot of political theater. I think they're doing all of this now because there's so many other things going on in the background. Fed now starts tomorrow. Digital currency we're moving to. All these things are going on in the background. Right?
UFOs.
Yeah, so they're like it's somewhat of a distraction. It's somewhat trying to get him out of the race, but I don't think he's going to get convicted. I just think that if they didn't want Trump to run, they could have went about it a different way, in my opinion.
I agree. But let me ask you this. Okay, devil's advocate. What would that way have been? Give me an example.
Well, that's a great question. Not this way. Let's start there, right? I think attacking him on issues, not attacking him on things he did 20 years ago or things they're saying he did on January 2nd. It's like it smells of desperation, right? When you indict him at the state level for something that happened years ago, that doesn't really matter right now, right? I'm not saying he was right or wrong, but it's not. Attack him on the issues he dealt with while president. I think he did a good job as president. Like whether you like the guy or not,
maybe they can't.
policy wise, that's the problem, right? I think
the opposition believes the opposition might believe that policies, things that happened while he was in office, resonate well with the majority of Americans.
Yeah,
and
I
if
agree.
they're reminded of that, then the personality doesn't matter as much to them.
Yeah, it's so honestly, it's so hard in my opinion to figure out what's going on in the political system right now because there is just so much discontent. There is so much just chaos, for lack of a better term. I mean, it's so chaotic now, and there's no decency in politics anymore. And I actually believe it's two parties fighting to keep each other in power. So they create discord among all of us to make us think we need our party or the other party to keep the ship going in the right direction. When we all should step back and realize that we all kind of like the ship we're on, right? These people tell us that we don't, or tell us it's terrible, so we can keep fighting each other and keep electing them to stay in power. I think Trump's the one that could expose that. And that's why I think there's such a level of fear of him now because he would be a one-term president, right? So he will go in and burn the place down in a good way, not like destroy everything, but like he will drain the swamp because he has no reason to be. He's not going to be reelected, so he can do everything he wants to do in the next 4 years with no consequence because he's not running for reelection. That's the fear they have, I think.
Do you think there's a portion of the Republican electorate that fears the fact that he may go in there and burn it down? Maybe that's a fearful.
I think both sides
thought.
fear that. Yes, absolutely. That's why the Republicans fear him too. I believe that. Yes. You have a system, right, that is created. When you get in the system, you go from normal middle class American to a wealthy individual, very wealthy individual. Name one politician that doesn't leave office worth way more than they were when they started. Like, look at the Clintons. They had a net worth of $480,000, millions of dollars when they came out of office. Everybody does that. So
Obama's.
they've created a system to build wealth. It's one of the biggest scams there is. So yes, the fear of Trump, who's already a billionaire, who doesn't need it, who truly wants to do what he believes, whether he's right or wrong, but what he believes is best for the country. That scares both parties, in my opinion.
Oh, you touched on the fact that politics is certainly used to enhance personal wealth.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So there was a bill, quote unquote, a very rare bipartisan bill. And I think it was Senators Gillibrand. Is it Gillibrand or Gillibrand? I think it's Gillibrand and Hawley.
Okay.
And I guess they're trying to prohibit members of the federal executive branch and members of Congress from owning individual
Yes.
stock and blind trust. So for the layman like me, can you explain what a blind trust is?
So a blind trust is, and again, I think the way there is putting all of your investments into something you have no control over. So a trust that you have no control over, you can't exercise any decision making.
Right.
So it's basically
Why is not a good thing though? That should be a good
well,
thing.
I don't think they're trying to get rid of blind trust. I think they're trying to force them to get into blind trust.
Okay.
I think that's where I could be wrong, because I think they're trying to get them, because the whole thing was Pelosi, right? Her husband made millions of dollars investing in companies or selling companies right before a law or regulation came out, right?
Yeah.
Timing the market perfectly. No one's that perfect. There's inside information, right? And when Pelosi was asked, she was like, "Oh, it's not a problem at all. Like, if you're privy to regulations that are going to impact companies, you shouldn't be trading stocks." And that's, I believe it's because typically you're supposed to the politicians put their money into a blind trust, right? They can't make trades, but their family members can, right?
Right. They're trying to stop the families
They're trying to tell the family members they also have to put the money into a blind trust.
Right.
That's what it is.
Or that the family members cannot
trade in individual stocks and should be placing funds in
create. Would they be in control of the blind trust? Would they be potentially managing the blind trust?
No, I believe what they mean by a blind trust, you appoint a trustee to control it. You're just a beneficiary, but you have no control over the trust.
So, one of the ways politicians make money, as we've talked about before, is when they go on speaking engagements.
Sure.
But one of the biggest scams that I was only made aware of this past year, I think you or someone else enlightened me, and I did some digging, was this book writing scam.
Yeah, I told you about that.
Scheme.
Yes.
It's, you come out and you ghostwrite, or you hire someone to write a book or your story or whatever you do, whatever this manuscript is.
Yeah.
Then you get it published, and essentially you have a company that goes and buys the book in volume.
Yeah.
And basically just throws them in a dumpster, essentially.
Yeah.
Makes them go away out of circulation.
It's how they get money to the politician legally.
Correct. And it also props them up in the New York Times bestseller. I mean, and that's just so disheartening to really sit and think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game. That's what it is. And that's how a lot of them, even state politicians, do it that way, right? You can't take money directly from people, but it's like, I'm going to write a book. It could be a terrible book. You have someone that goes and buys 10,000 copies of it, and you make $2 a copy. There's 20 grand real quick. Like that's the corruption in the system. I'm all for people. I'm a capitalist by nature.
Certainly.
I'm all for people making money. I'm all for utilizing what's there to make money. I'm not for trading on inside information, and being privy to information the general public is not, and making profit from that, right? The book thing, I mean, look, that's never going to stop. There's no way to prevent it.
How do you do that?
You can't. And I mean, look, when you go into public service, right, you're like, if I went into I'd make less money. Like I'd give up,
take a pay cut.
I'd take a huge pay cut to do that. So I believe there should be a way to offset some of that, but the ethical way. I think that's what's missing. Ethics are not a prevailing theme in politics anymore, in my opinion.
Well, insider trading is such a it's such a wide chasm. The average person, including myself, that hears insider trading, is two guys meet for a cocktail on Wall Street and talk about things that are going on each side of their business. At one point does it become insider trading?
It's got to be material, non-public information.
How do you prove it?
I mean, you without direct evidence, circumstantial evidence, right? So if there's a regulation that's in Congress right now that's at one of the House committees we'll say tax lithium, right, which are the batteries in Teslas, right, and it's going to impact Tesla and it's going to cause their profits to plummet for a quarter or two until they make adjustments. Then you have all these politicians' family members go out and short Tesla stock a week before this regulation gets announced. That's inside information. It's non-public.
That should be trackable, right? I mean, I would have hoped that there's folks looking at that stuff.
The government's the one supposed to be looking at it, and when the government's doing it, they're turning a blind eye to it. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, the SEC is the one that regulates that. They're the watchdog over insider trading. That's just another arm of the government. It's the system's broken. Let's just be honest. The system's broken. And there's UFOs.
We're getting there.
And the Earth is flat.
The Earth.
I'm just kidding.
Let me go on record. The Earth is.
I'm not
I mean,
saying
I
it
don't
is.
know much for certainty, but I'm pretty sure with all. I'm like 99.9% that the Earth is definitely not flat.
No, it's definitely not.
But I mean,
Hey.
anything's possible. So just to touch on it, because it is kind of like a thing. I guess this James Webb Telescope is now providing data, and the conventional wisdom for Big Bang theory that's slowly decaying. It's at the start, but it's going to be interesting over the next 6 to 8 months to see where it kind of ends and what comes in its place. Now,
That's
I saw
the question I have. Yeah, what replaces it?
Well, the first thing I saw this past week was they took the 14.2 billion year time span of our universe, and I saw that was elongated to 24 billion years. So I don't have the reasons why, but there's the first quote unquote somewhat major announcement that the Big Bang theory might not be correct and we need to recalculate and reformulate. And I don't know. I mean,
there's another theory that I thought was just a bullshit theory, and I kept seeing it in a couple different places about trying to figure out like how all this shit in the past happens. Pyramids were built, like you see all these cave drawings of crazy shit. There was a theory that the poles make a seismic shift every 12,000 to 15,000 years, and we're about 13,000 years past the last one, which the theory is it basically resets the world. It goes back to like
very violent wave.
Yes. And it's like, and that's why they're talking about like, is it starting because these heat waves, like all this shit that's happening, like, is this the start over the next couple hundred years?
The Great Reset.
Where it goes back to like the Stone Age, and like we rebuild society, and it gets to a point where shifts again, everything's wiped out. Because think about it this way. I'm gonna make your brain
down the
melt
wormhole
right now.
we go.
But I don't know why we got here, but I started thinking to this. Okay, we have AI, right? It's 2023. Like, if society didn't reset, right? Shouldn't there be time travelers like coming back with like crazy technology? Like, we have technology today.
Maybe there are.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many. Like, I get on these wormholes and I'm like, my brain just starts bleeding. I'm like, it hurts, but it's like some stuff you just can't explain. Like, I watched that Rogan thing on the pyramids, and I'm like, how the fuck did they build the pyramids? Like, how the fuck? There had to be giants on this earth just picking up rocks and putting them places. Like, how did that happen? Like, how physics? You're talking about science, right? Explain to me in physics how they built the pyramids.
There's another place, and forgive me, I know the name of the city, but not the country.
Okay.
It's called Göbekli Tepe.
Okay.
I'm probably pronouncing it incorrectly, but at this location, there are some of the largest man-made stones on the planet.
Okay.
That are placed in a way that is so specific and so mathematically perfect, near perfect.
Okay.
We don't really right now understand how we could emulate that because of the massive weight of these stones. If we can't really do it now, how did they do it then? And that's another example that's always feeding in my mind. Like,
are we alone?
Well, I definitely don't think we're alone. But I mean, but again, since 2020, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around anything.
Yeah.
And we'll just go there. We were having a conversation off air, friends, and I was telling Rocco that one of the most unsettling things for me is that I feel before 2020 or before 18 or even 2016, I generally had certain things in life that I recognized as being certain, relatively certain, or societal truths. Even if I knew in my mind they might not actually be true, I was able to hang on them so I could build other mini truths from them. And that comprised a comfortable order that I can maneuver through. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
What I was sharing with Rocco was that some of these colossal truths that I held on to, and I think most of us kind of do, for me, they're kind of eroding away.
Yeah.
Take the presidential elections, one of them.
Yeah.
The certainty of fairness or correctness of our presidential election. Just take that one election.
Yeah.
Foregone conclusion that, yeah, could funny business be going on? Yeah, but it's just so almost inconceivable all throughout my 50 plus years until now.
Yeah.
And when you sit and think about, maybe things aren't on the up and up, it's just another example. And then you start to, for me, I start questioning other bedrock truths within my life. And I think that's where that unsettledness comes from, that I think a lot of people are feeling right now.
Well, and I think being unsettled, not in your instance, but in a lot of people's instances, come from the lack of thinking, right? They're just not thinking. They don't, so they're taking things at face value, and it's causing this, cognitive like discontent. Like, I can't figure it out. It's like, well, did you think through it? Like, actually figure out
how to think.
Well, right. That's the problem. It's like, so they'll look at something and say, oh my God, like, I don't know what to believe anymore. It's like, well, okay, like, think through it logically. Like, take the whole, like, when COVID happened, right? People were just taking everything like, yep, I have to walk down this way at the grocery store. No one questioned it.
Right.
I was always like, why? Like,
Right.
What is the benefit of me going this way and you coming this way? Like, what was the benefit of that? How did taking my mask off at a table was okay, but walking to the bathroom wasn't okay? People were just taking it at face value and I was always the asshole, and not in a bad way, but it's like, because I questioned everything. And it wasn't because I'm a skeptic. It's because I want to know the reasoning behind things. If you're going to tell me to do something, why?
Absolutely.
And I think that's where people have gotten with this whole like unsettledness. They don't know how to ask the question anymore, I think. And they don't want to because they feel like, because people have vilified people that ask questions now. Like, think about that whole, when you go through the pandemic, if you were the one asking questions, you were the asshole.
Absolutely.
And it's like, no, I'm not. I just want logic. Like,
Absolutely.
I'll do what logically makes sense. And if wearing a mask outside when I'm on a walking trail when no one's around makes sense because there's shit everywhere, give me the data, explain it to me in a way I can understand it, I will comply. No one could do that. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. You haven't convinced me.
So, as harsh as it sounds, I'll say what I believe. And I believe that we have become intellectually lazy. It doesn't mean we don't have the skill set, we don't have the intelligence. I'm saying we're choosing not to use it because life is easy. Things are spoon-fed to us, and we have given into them.
Yeah.
And we become purely reactionary to information.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
and it's a scary, and I'm hoping that the young, say fuck you and start questioning everything, because our older minds are just kind of capitulating, and it really I mean, COVID was a great example of that, but I just think we're so reactionary now that we're willing to take, if you're going to consume reels or fast moving content of all different topics and think that your brain can really do each one of them.
Sure.
You can do due diligence with each one of them, and you start buying into things. You've opened yourself to complete manipulation. And I think a lot of the population has done that now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's just,
we react to everything.
well, and I always use the example when I talk to clients, like, being proactive and reactive have two different costs, right? When you're proactive, you pay a little bit of cost up front. It's a little bit uncomfortable, right? Like, so in the legal sense, paying me to do things right, set them up the right way.
Right.
Yeah, it sucks because you're not making money yet. It's a pure expense, right? And it hurts a little bit. If you pay me to react to when the shit hits the fan, it costs exponentially more, right? So here it's like the same thing when it comes to thinking. People don't want to do it because it's uncomfortable up front and they don't get anything from it. So they just listen to things and then they'll react when it makes sense to them. They're not doing the hard stuff up front. Like, one of my favorite quotes is, hard today, easy tomorrow, easy today, hard tomorrow.
So
And that's
true.
thinking. Like that's people don't want to do the hard thinking today to make tomorrow easy. They just want to I just want to be easy right now. I don't want to do the thinking. I want someone to tell me what to think or show me what's true instead of developing their own truths.
Did we really regress this way at the start of 2020 because of maybe fear, because of the unknown?
Fear plays a big role in it. I mean, fear is an absolute mental motivator when you think about it. But I think it started before that. I think, with the rise of the internet, the rise of social media, our attention span has shortened, right? Our ability to analyze information has shortened because the rate or the speed and the amount of information coming at us every single day has exponentially increased. Our processing power of our brain hasn't. So it creates overwhelm. Until you understand, like you have to be very good at distilling the diamond from the rough when it comes to thinking. Most people haven't taught themselves the ability to do that. Like, if you can't do that, think about you're just getting shit thrown at you all day and you don't know what is the good stuff.
Yeah, and 25 years ago it was easier because
Right.
society was wired differently.
Yeah, and there was less information coming at you, right? You had 10 pieces an hour. Now it's 1,000 pieces an hour. Like,
Right.
think about the magnitude of that exponential increase. If I had like 10 pieces of information on an hourly basis, I had to sort through. Like, someone came in my office, they gave me a piece of paper. I didn't have a computer, didn't have email. It was just people coming and going. Now I sit, like, I'm thinking of my day. So I sit in my office in an hour. I have 3 monitors. I have a door with other employees. I have my phone. I have also my desk phone. Like, think about how many things are happening. Emails coming in, phones dinging, like everything's happening. So there's probably 1,000 pieces of information coming at me every hour. So I had to learn how to block it out and focus. If I couldn't do that, I'd be dead in the water.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what people aren't teaching themselves that process and that thinking ability.
Yeah, it's a really, but back to your point about
Yeah.
those who do decide to think
Mhm.
and breathe before reacting,
Yeah.
and contemplate
Mhm.
and question,
Mhm.
they're not revealed, not revealed. They're not revealed, not revealed. What's the word I'm looking for? Revered. Excuse me. They're not
yes,
revered.
Okay.
Revered.
Yes. I was
They're
looking for that
not
word. Got
revered
it.
in society.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, you're scorned, and I want to touch on that because we're having this crazy heat wave right now, and it's been
hot
hot,
here.
not just in Pennsylvania. Oh, come on! Stacey's actually working today.
It's working for
Well, for
you.
you, yeah, for you. And you're sitting closer
I'm
to
like
it than
40
me.
pounds heavier than you, man. I'm the fat guy in the room. Let's just
Yeah,
be honest.
hardly. But it's almost, if you think now and have the audacity to question,
Yeah.
you're now a candidate for the quote unquote cancel folks.
Yeah. I
Shame
think
to say that, but that's kind of.
I think it's shifting though.
I hope it's shifting.
Here's how I think it's shifting. One, the observations I make. Two, I've noticed myself shift. Like,
Help me understand.
because I'm always like, I tend to, like, play nice to everybody. I have my opinions, but I play nice. I've gotten to the point where I've decided I'm just going to be unapologetically me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't give a shit anymore about certain things. And I can't walk on eggshells around people. I'm not doing anything to offend anybody or to hurt anybody. I just have my beliefs. And I'm to the point where, like, if you want to try and cancel me, that's your problem, not mine.
100%.
And I think more people are starting to feel that way because cancel culture has gotten so ridiculous. It's like, if you fart in the wind, it's like canceled. It's like, for what? Like, what the fuck? Like, people are just ridiculous about it.
Well, we had this heat wave, and I was reminded that global warming activists, are certainly using this latest heat wave as more quote unquote proof that they're right, that man-made global warming is the scourge of the earth. Okay. If you even question that, like global warming especially, forget COVID, put COVID in the rearview mirror for a second, but just global warming. We are at a point, or maybe it's changing, I don't know, but it still feels like we are at a point that if you even question what the actual effect of quote unquote man-made global warming is against the natural evolution of the planet's temperatures, if you even question it, because
Okay.
none of us are really thermo
I don't know shit about
scientists,
it. Yeah, I don't know
right?
shit about it.
Okay, but if you just as a regular average thinking person even question it, you've opened yourself to scorn.
Sure.
Whether it's in a social setting, whether it's on social media, whether it's in a casual conversation,
Okay.
and even myself, who generally don't give a shit, what I don't really filter myself too often, but I find myself not venturing in the conversations that years prior I would have gone in.
Yeah.
Because that might, oh God, I'm going to get labeled a non-believer,
Yeah.
a global denier, global warming denier. I mean, all these labels, but it's like just asking the question and saying, I'm not sure. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Even that opens people up to being, I don't know, to being scorned.
See, I look at it differently because I disagree with that point, and I'll tell you
Okay.
why. I think if you open up the discussion for actual discussion, I very rarely had somebody scorn me. It's when you take an adamant position, like global warming's bullshit. Then you're gonna get scorned. Like, okay, if I say I don't understand global warming, explain it to me. Like, I don't believe it, but explain it to me. I'm curious. What I've learned in those situations, people won't scorn you because they don't understand themselves.
They can't describe it.
They can't describe. So I think that's kind of the way you have to play those things. Where it's, if I don't believe something, I'll just say that's not my belief, but I'd love to hear your explanation of it. Maybe I'm wrong, and let people try and explain. And sometimes people catch themselves saying, you know what, I don't really understand it either. I've had those conversations with people.
But we just adopted a viewpoint.
They just adopted a viewpoint, but when you ask them to actually explain and expound upon their viewpoint, they can't. And then there's no scorn because they almost become self-aware that they don't know it as much as they thought. Now, again, there's always going to be the 10% that are loud and going to scorn you no matter what. But I just don't associate with those people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's fascinating to me.
Oh, yeah,
that we
100%.
have just adopted viewpoints. And again, it goes back to that intellectual laziness thing. And when I say that, believe me, I am not under any circumstance putting myself at a higher intellectual level at all, because I am as guilty as everybody. But as a people, what I observe is that we just are not thinking beyond that first level stuff. As functioning adults, we're functioning, we're going through our lives, taking care of our families, going to our jobs, we're doing all of that. But we're really not ever, generally, probably not ever leaving the first level area of thought in most things in our life. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I think unless you're in, like, I'm fortunate enough to be in a profession where I have to think. So I love it. Like, I get to think
I am as well.
every day and I get to challenge myself. There's a lot of professions out there where, and it's not a bad thing, it's just like there's tasks that need done.
Right.
Like, they're very tactical professions that maybe don't need thinking. And a friend of mine said something this week. She was talking to someone else that I know, and she made the comment. She's like, if you want to make more money, solve bigger problems. And that's truly, like, if you boil success down to, if you need one thing that I can say will make you successful, it's solve bigger problems.
Or solve more problems.
Solve more problems.
people.
You either help more people or solve bigger problems, right?
Amen.
You know, if I become an expert in something, I can charge a lot more for my time.
Certainly.
Or I can just help a lot of people at a lower rate, but I'm doing volume now. It's like solve bigger problems. And that's what people don't understand. Like, the ability to think has become a competitive advantage today.
Can you believe what you just said? Can you believe what you just said?
No, I can't, because, like,
say it again.
the ability to think has become a competitive advantage today. I can't believe we're having this conversation, but it's the truth. Because I love when I meet a person, I'm like, this person's a thinker. I can have a discussion with them. I can actually go down those deeper paths and challenge one another mentally and intellectually. I also know when I meet people that aren't that, and I know I have to change the way I speak to them.
Surface level.
It's very surface level. And I try and, delve into things a little bit deeper, but you have to understand that. And it is a competitive advantage. And I think an even bigger competitive advantage which is what I think, again, like not talking about my firm, I think which makes us different is we can take complex and make it simple. We have the ability to think in a complex way and distill it simply. And that's a lost art.
No doubt. No doubt. The
Wait, back to the heat wave though. Did you know, like the week of the 4th of July was like the hottest days on Earth ever? Like that week.
That's what we're being told.
I was in Mexico. I was in Mexico that week, and like I almost melted.
Okay,
so it was definitely hot.
So
Gabe told me that. I'll give him credit for that.
The skeptic in me, asks the following question in response to that statement.
Okay,
I'll ask the science folks. I'm pretty sure about 1,400 years ago, we didn't have the technology on this planet.
Sure.
To really
you are
make
right.
those measurements. So
because the statement did say since we've been able to measure
it's a pretty heady statement.
But no, I think you're right. And that reminded me that when they did talk about that, they were saying since we've been able to measure temperature,
but do you see
it's the hottest day.
But do you see though how often that's probably just stated as fact?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, it's a semantics thing, but do you see the mental connotation that people just assume?
Yeah.
And that stops them from thinking about the question or the statement.
Because you're right. Because what you should think is like, well, that's because if I said these are the hotter days, exactly. Because if I said this is the hottest days on Earth, you'd be like, well, the assumption. If you believe that, you made the assumption we've always been able to measure temperature since the beginning of time. Where when you think about it, it's like, well, since we've been able to measure, and when did that begin? So it's the hottest day in the past 200 years.
And my argument to global warming is, as a layperson, as an average Joe, when I look at it. I understand that we have theoretical scientists and physicists that their job is to do math and try to walk things back in history. I get it.
Yeah.
Astronomers do it. I get it. But when it comes to this, I have a hard time understanding how the estimate is 4.6 billion years the Earth has been around. That's their theoretical number. I'll buy into it.
Yeah. Okay.
Man's been able to maybe accurately take temperature of this world. I mean, I think it's only 300 years or 250, but I'll give him 500. Let's just say for the last 500 years, we had the skill to do it.
Okay.
4.6 billion, 500.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to take the numbers from a 500, which isn't even 500, but a 500 year against 4.6 billion, and then tell me you have enough data to create the trend that we are fucking up the Earth in inconsequential ways.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that's what we feel now, what we can see now with this current data. It sure is hot as shit. And I believe that pouring smog in I can see, and I use logic, that's probably not a great thing. I get it. But to say we know the impact and we have all these specific numbers, I mean, I'm sorry. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it. And I'm willing to listen, but I really need it explained to me as a layperson how any of that from a data standpoint with time involved makes sense, because it doesn't.
Well, I still come back to how do they figure out what temperature is? Like, go back to think about that. How did we determine it's 82 degrees outside? Who made the determination that the measurement is 82 degrees? Where did that number come from? Who established it? How did they establish it? Was it just pulled out of someone's ass?
I think we somehow have, wasn't it done with mercury? Like,
I don't know, but how did they know? Who decided it was mercury? Again, like this is the problem of thinking. This is why thinking is so interesting, because you keep taking it back. Okay, well, who said that's mercury? Let's grab this. This will help us measure temperature.
Well, so
explain
our
that.
experiences in life are just what I mentioned earlier, are just built upon assumptions.
Sure.
And when you have some bedrock assumptions that you base other things around and they start to crumble, go back to me being unsettled, because that's kind of where I'm at. But everything builds on assumptions. Again, we talked off camera. I'll say it again. I think it was Carl Sagan said it, or someone was talking about theoretical science, theoretical physics. It's all theoretical. And a lot of math makes a lot of sense, but it's all based upon a very unmathematic assumption, which was the Big Bang. Like something came from nothing. And once the something was here, we can unwind it with mathematics. Okay, but all of that math doesn't matter if you don't buy into the nothing.
Where did math come from? But that's, I mean,
Smarter minds than I know.
Take
but
it,
it's
take it. That question. Ask me that question. Like, who established that this is math? Who established that? Who came up and said we need formulas to figure?
Well,
shit
I'm
out?
sure there's a history of mathematics.
But I'm curious, because now we're thinking about this and talking out loud. It's like I've never asked the question. I've just always assumed math is a constant and concrete. I don't have any idea.
Well,
I'm making an assumption, built on other assumptions.
We're going down a rabbit hole. I just had this
conversation.
Another on that same vein.
Okay.
We have a periodic chart of elements, right? Of naturally occurring elements. Yeah. Yep. Okay. I don't know what they're up to now, 100 and something. But we make the assumption that these elements are found in nature, and those same elements are found throughout the universe.
Okay.
And all of our mathematical understandings, or our mathematics, are built upon our assumptions of these elements and how they're reacting out in the universe. And that's how we build on this math, and we look at time and we start interweaving everything. But how do we know that this set of elements is all there is? How do we know in other parts of our universe there's not other elements that are not part of our world?
Right. We don't. What if there's more elements in the 90% of the ocean we haven't explored yet?
We're making assumptions of on a grandiose scale with only our limited experience.
Right. Yeah.
And we're building off of our limited experience.
That's exactly right.
Sometimes not taking into account of what we don't potentially know.
Correct. Yes, I agree.
And you can extrapolate that all the way down until how we just deal with each other. We make assumptions about each other. Yep. We make assumptions about this world. We take little bits of information and somehow find a belief structure out of this stuff. Because we're just, and is it solely because there's being too much thrown at us that our ability to, as we had in decades prior, to think and process and be rational is under attack constantly because we're being pummeled with different kinds of information all the time. And we willingly go to it and ingest it.
Yeah.
But I think it's too much for the human mind to handle.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's the biggest problem is the speed and the sheer volume of information coming at us.
We're doing it to ourselves, though.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that today. I was sitting in my office and I had people come in my office about 7 times today to ask me questions when I was in the middle of doing something. So I lost, time doing things, and because I'm there to help people, obviously. But it was like that was just information coming at me that I had to stop processing, mentally processing what I was doing, and shift gears, then shifts back. And it's like if I wasn't a deeper thinker, like I'd be spent right now, like spent. That happened a lot. I was going back and forth, and you're getting this information constantly coming at you, and it can be mentally exhausting. Some people just don't want to put in the work.
And how much of our time is spent ingesting information that really does not serve us? Like 80%
of it.
I don't think. I mean, we can laugh about going down rabbit holes with like TikTok, but I mean, just take simple news. Yeah. You could be someplace trying to work on your computer and the TV could be running news in the background. You could be checking all of the news sites during the day. You're getting live updates on things. I mean, the world worked pretty well 50 years ago, and the public wasn't informed of every little fart by a gnat on a eucalyptus tree. We don't need to know this shit. There's so much we don't need to know to deal with our daily lives. Now, should we have the right to get it if we want it? Sure, you can make that argument, but do we need to know?
No, and the problem is it's the business of making us feel like we need to know. That's what the media is, right? The media is in the business of making us feel like we need the information.
It's entertainment.
Because think about it. If you turn off the news for 2 weeks, anything major in the world that's happening, someone will eventually tell you.
Correct.
I've never been at a point in my life where I didn't watch the news for a week and I was like, shit, I'm lost. Like, I don't know why. No, my life moves on. And if there's something that happens that I should know, someone tends to tell me.
But I think there's something, and I don't have the answer, but I suspect there's something in us that pulls to know instantly.
Instant gratification.
We need to always be on top of everything, or we've been conditioned to
Yes.
believe that we need to be.
I mean,
You know,
yes, when I can go on my phone right now and order something on Amazon and have it at my
does
doorstep
that.
tomorrow, I'm just saying, like, that's the thing. So we can get things so quick that things used to take time. Now we want everything fast. Like, I find myself like, why haven't you fucking responded to a text message? I just sent it to you. I'm like, wait a minute, let me give this person, like, I'll find myself like, why am I not getting the information I need right now? Like, what is taking so long? Like, why haven't you? We were just having a conversation. You stop responding. Like, what the fuck? And it's like, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, stop, like, slow down. It's not the end of the world, but that's the problem because everything's so fast right now. Like, think about the speed of the world. Like, to slow down, you have to literally go to the fucking woods or the mountains or the beach somewhere. You can't, in your day-to-day life, it's very hard to slow down. You can do it, you have to force yourself to do it, but because so much is coming at you all the time, and we've been so conditioned to want things to come at us quickly, right? If I order something on Amazon and I don't see it's available on Prime, I'm pissed. I'm like, fuck this. It may literally be coming the same day Prime would deliver it, but because I'm so accustomed to, I know Prime will deliver it that day, I won't buy it. Like, that's how I'm.
so you're conditioned.
I'm conditioned. I can admit, Amazon's like, I think you would like this. I'm like, you know me. I definitely would like that. Add that to the cart. But that's the thing. Like, and luckily I've been able to uncondition myself from certain things. But there are like that. I'm conditioned. Like, I know that about myself. I've become very self-aware of how conditioned I am when it comes to certain behaviors I have.
Oh yeah, 100%.
No one's immune from it.
No,
You can't be.
no. I want to talk about this. I guess it's the SAG and AFTRA strike.
Yeah. Who gives a shit? But go on. No, go on.
Uh,
Hollywood's like,
okay, my first statement on
Yeah.
that page, if you notice, it'll say, "Does anybody care?"
I
And
don't.
I mean,
I'm
there's
entertained
industries
long,
that there's industries that are affected by
Sure.
it naturally, and I wouldn't wish that kind of
No, not at
employment
all.
strife on anybody. But every strike or every work stoppage or every
Yeah, of course.
industry has unique issues that affect. I mean, that's the nature of
Yes,
capitalism.
absolutely right. Yes.
But it's an interesting reflection, though, that everything is in flux when it comes to how we view entertainment anymore. The traditional methods, the traditional channels, the traditions in general about quote unquote entertainment, especially the film, which I lump TV in there.
Yeah.
And that industry is really in a state of flux right now.
All the entertainment. I did a magazine interview over Zoom the other day, and that was one of the questions we were talking about. Like, they said, have you noticed the industry change? I said, yeah. Like, take independent artists. They don't need a label anymore. They have the ability to become their own publishing company, their own media company. Like, and so the powers that be that control that industry don't have the same level of control anymore. It's in a huge state of flux right now.
100%.
We hadn't even talked about how AI is going to change that.
That was my next question.
That's a whole different world.
Well, music's a different animal in that regard, but just take the acting field, the actors in general
Yeah.
are going to continue to be minimalized. They have started to be with CGI, although the CGI
Yeah.
needed to become more realistic over
Sure.
time. But we're getting to that point now where it's going to be replacing actors.
I know.
And I think it's going to be indiscriminate in who it affects.
Yeah.
I don't think it is. I think it's going to affect the very popular and famous actors just as much as the
Yeah. When you can use
Struggling
AI to
actors.
create somebody that to do what they do. Like, there's an AI platform now, and I tried it. It's pretty close. Like, you upload a picture of yourself and it'll turn that into a talking head video of you talking. Now, I did it for myself. I'm like, my mouth doesn't really
You're
move
not quite
like that
there yet. It's
but I'm
getting
like, that's, if someone didn't know me, that would look like I was talking. But because I know myself, I'm like, that's not what I look like when I talk. But if someone didn't know me and they just saw that, they would assume that is me. That's a legit dude on video speaking. I was just like, holy shit. Like, I mean, think about that. The other thing with AI too is like copyright.
Yeah.
Like people are using AI to create these things. Like who owns the copyright? AI is open source. Like we don't know. That's such an uncharted area of the law. Like we have no idea what that's going to turn into.
No, and you're blurring the line of like physical world.
Yeah.
But then again, celluloid was always virtual to me. Like celluloid was never real anyways.
What's celluloid?
The film. Film was
okay.
always, it was never reality. Hollywood was never a reality.
Sure.
We would run the Hollywood to escape quote unquote reality.
Right. But it was still people creating something. It was
correct.
Individual human beings creating something artistic. Now it's like I can literally go into a program like Canva, for instance, right? Canva, you can do text to image. So I can go in there and say, and then they have Mid Journeys, the other AI platform. You can literally say, hey, I want a photo of 3 dogs lifting weights on a beach in Mexico. And for fuck's sake, it'll come up with a picture with 3 dogs lifting weights on a beach in Mexico. Like within seconds. Like that's the shit that's happening. So now what is the creativity? Is the creativity the input, right? Like what is the creation of the thing? And that's where we're going to get, these lines are going to get blurred, right? Because copyright is when you create an original work, right? I have copyright and automatically. What is the creation in that instance? Is it the input or the output?
I think it's going to have to be the input because the
know.
output's going to be generated artificially.
Right, but so just words. You're saying words are the so now it's going to be you can't copyright the art, you can copyright the word, but then I'm just using general words. So it's not going to be.
Well, lyrics can be copyrighted, right? Words in alignment.
Yeah, they can be
scripts and things.
Yes, but there you can also have adaptations from those, right? Like I always use the example. There was the 2 movies that came out at the same time: Paul Blart Mall Cop and Observe and Report.
You would know that.
But here's why: because it was Kevin James he was a mall cop, right? And you had Seth Rogen, Observe and Report, Mall Cop. Literally the same fucking movie that came out at about the same time. So it's like there wasn't copyright violation. They were 2 separate ideas. They just happened to be exactly the same. So that's where the lines are going to get blurred, right? Because if you and I both go into Chat GPT right now, we can put in the same input, but it's going to come out with something different. Because Chat GPT is learning what you've put in it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's learning what I put in. So so it's like where's the line going to be drawn? It's going to be really interesting for people like me, lawyers, that we deal with this stuff. Like there are going to be some interesting problems to solve.
Well, if you're an artist and you're a visual artist, a painter, I mean, I've talked to some painters who are just horrified by AI because, it's like they're worried that the public is going to value AI work ultimately above human creation. Now, the hope is that, Jordan Bellotti, a photographer, was on. We were talking about AI this past week, and he said that eventually he can see where the human experience or the human interaction will be valued higher and be a premium experience. So the AI might fit a regular experience for a customer, but an actual human interaction, he thinks anyways, will be a premium experience. That's where it's headed. I hope that's actually right.
I hope so too.
And not the other way around.
But here's where the challenge will come with that. Then the humans better give a fucking great experience. Because people can't assume that I'm just a human giving experience. Like people are going to pay more for that. Now it's going to be like, you better create a premium service, right? Because AI, like what I say with AI, like if you're a basic marketing person, AI is going to destroy you. I'm sorry. Like but if you're good at what you do and you're creative, AI will help you. AI will make you better, will make you more efficient. But people are afraid of it because they're mediocre at what they do. If you're really good at what you do, you should look at AI as a tool to help you, right? To make things faster, more efficient, give you ideas. When I've dealt with marketers who say, oh, like they're afraid to use AI, that's because they know AI's better. Like it's the truth. I mean, I've seen that happen a lot of times. Like people won't use it. I'm like, why? Like it's just going to help you. Like if someone uses AI and creates great content, I don't give a shit where it comes from. It's great content. But people are like, I don't want to use that. Like, I don't want to use that. It's, it's going to replace. No, if you're going to let it replace you, yes, but it doesn't have to.
A slightly different industry, but I'll give you an example. So I was in the guitar business years ago. You would have import guitars that were generally made with like CNC machines and, put together a combination of human
Okay.
and machines.
Okay.
And then you'd have the handmade guitars. And to be honest with you, they're still using some CNC too, but you'd have
Okay.
them, let's say a Chicago made guitar or a guitar made in Korea.
Okay.
You would pay more for the guitar made in Chicago because it was being done under the guise of handcrafted,
Yeah.
American made, the whole bit. Which was better? There was an argument to be made early on that maybe the handmade stuff was a little better, but through refining of the process and maybe the scales of labor cutting back in the States here, something changed at some point in time. And while the USA product is still more, it's more of a reflection of just the labor costs being higher.
Yeah.
As opposed to the actual output of the quality. The inputs have got the import guitars got so good. They were challenging the USA product. You see,
Well, I think that's every
So it
industry.
comes down to experience. What the ultimately client experience is for the money.
Yeah, in the perception. Like, look at wine. Like, wine's a great example, right? People perceive if a wine costs $100 a bottle, it's good wine, but they may not know any better. Like, if you go to a restaurant, you see a bottle of wine that's $30 and a bottle that's $300. Your assumption is that $300 bottle of wine is way better.
Absolutely.
I could pour both of them in a glass and tell you the $30 one is the 300, and unless you're a very good sommelier or wine is your passion, I guarantee you 9 out of 10 people would not be able to tell the difference.
Oh, I agree.
So it's the perception. If you create, and that's any type of business, right? If you create the perception of value, like that's how you win. And I think if people look at AI as this is a way to increase my value through the perception, it's game over. But too many people are looking at it, they're too fearful of it.
Let me close this down with a group thing. I want to touch on that a little bit too. Are we, I'm very nervous about this coming political season. I just am in terms of the volatility of how we interact with each other as citizens and everything else. And I just would love to see some more independent thought, some more free thought. Do you think if we have some independent candidates or some people that maybe challenge the Democratic or the Republican nomination for their party, you think those kinds of debates and ideas will help with maybe a little less groupthink?
I would love that to be the case. Now, whether that will actually happen, I'm not willing to bet money on it. I'm really not. It's unfortunate. We need debate. We need people to actually debate the problems and solve them together. There's too much groupthink right now.
You don't see us changing? How?
Not by the next presidential election.
Could there be a seismic event that changes us? Maybe in that regard.
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a really good question. Like I couldn't the aliens invading. Like that's it. I mean that you have an alien invasion. Everybody's like, we're all on the same team. Let's get this shit together. Like, think about it. I mean, I don't because people pick their team.
What if? Just hear me out.
Yeah.
What if Trump would be convicted on one of these before the election and actually taken in handcuffs and taken out?
Okay.
Do you think that would do anything? What do you think that would do to the society in general?
I think it would just create more discord than there is right now. You'd have the Democrats cheering and doing on parades, and the Trump supporters burning down houses. That's where I think that's where I'm fearful of the most. Like I believe that typically conservative people are less violent when it comes to things that they're passionate about. However, I believe just because Trump has become this figure, that if something like that's happened, like the tide will turn. And then we're in a scary situation, in my opinion.
Oh, I couldn't.
Violence never solves a problem on any side. On any side.
No.
Like protests, absolutely, that's your right. That's your First Amendment right. But turning to violence out of anger, that's not going to solve anything. And that's my biggest fear. Not saying that would happen, but it's in the back of my mind that if he would get put away, people are not going to lie down and be like, okay, you got us. We're lost. not two in a row. If people felt it was a fair and balanced election last time, and it happened, less impact because people are already still are so bent out of shape over the last election, and now he's the front runner by a landslide right now in the party. And if he would get convicted prior to the election, people will lose their fucking mind. More so than anything you'll ever see in this country, I believe.
Well, I hope that's not the case.
So do I. So do I.
I mean, who knows? I mean, I just know that we really are so quick to just make assumptions and just figure out our beliefs and just go and run with it.
I'll tell you what, I think Trump, that Vivek, what's the guy's last name? The Indian guy?
Vivek, yeah, I can't pronounce his last name either.
That'd be a great ticket.
You think that'll happen?
I think they've alluded to it. I think in a couple of Trump speeches, he's dropped some said pleasantries about the guy. He's a good balance to it, man. He's practical. He's intelligent.
I just think it's fascinating that the president of the United States, or the gentleman who's running, a former president, running for office, and might be the nominee, and while he's going through the process, could be indicted. I guess
been indicted. He's been indicted. He's convicted.
True, convicted. I'm sorry, but I guess I shouldn't be.
It's America, dude.
But I shouldn't be wigged out by that. But I mean,
I don't think Trump's a New York real estate developer. To him, he's like, I don't give a fuck. Bring it. Like, that's his personality.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's just.
Could the feds make a deal with him that would? I mean, I don't know how that works. Could they say you can't run for federal office, but if you do that, we'll keep you out of jail?
I'm sure they could try. You think that man? But yep, cool, no problem. Sounds out of line. That dude will go down fighting. He's too far in this, man. He's not. He is not gonna back down. I would bet every dollar I have in the bank that is a man that will not back down.
Well, on that, we're gonna wrap it up. We'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about the IRS whistleblower today. We'll talk about that next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, friends. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Until next week.
Absolutely.
We're out.
How do I turn this off?
We're only out if I can turn the broadcast off. 3, 2, 1.
Boom.
There we go.
Turn this one off.
Hello.
Good. That was good, man.